All right, we are going. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good, man. Well,
I can't see you though.
yeah, this computer doesn't have a webcam, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, obviously it's great to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time off. How is the new year treating you and Raunchy?
It's been great so far, man. It's been really good. The album so far has been very well received, and surprisingly, people are pretty welcoming of a random American member in a Danish band.
Yeah, yeah, I was pretty shocked myself, actually. I mean, you used to be the vocalist in the HAARP Machine and Intervals. How did you come to join a Danish band?
Interestingly, they contacted me pretty soon after I announced that I was leaving the Heart Machine. I can't remember the exact timeline, but I got a message on Facebook, believe it or not, from one of the members, and they told me that Casper, the previous vocalist, had left, and they were looking to fill his shoes, and they thought that I might be a good replacement for him. Um, and having been a fan of Raunchy for quite some time at that point, I, of course, jumped up and down like a little girl and screamed and all of that good stuff. And then promptly just responded as calmly as possible, yes, I'd be interested. And after that, they sent me a demo of what's now called Luxuria. It's number 7 on our album. And I wrote and recorded a verse and chorus, and so probably about 45 seconds to a full minute of material. That's about it. But sent that to them, and they were obviously pretty stoked on it because the next thing I knew, I was in the band.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, the new album is a real heavy hitter, not just musically, but through its lyrics. Vices and Virtues, they arguably oppose each other. So in the context of the album, what does the word vision have to do with all this?
Yeah, no, it's. I'm glad that you asked that. So originally, when I started writing lyrics for this album, I really just wanted to illustrate that dichotomy between good versus evil, and vice versus virtue, and things like that. And but that only leaves me with lyrics for 7 songs, right?
Right.
And I thought it would be interesting to take a stab at almost prophesizing where exactly I can see humanity heading in the event that this balancing act that humanity is always in with between vices and virtues continues to lean more toward vices. And so there's 4 vision songs, and they kind of get increasingly dark. um, and I suppose it's a sort of ominous kind of view on where I can see humanity heading in the future. But there is a fairly positive resolve, almost, if you want to call it that, in the song Clarity, where this fictional character is able to kind of pull himself out of these patterns of embracing only vice, and coming to the realization that there needs to be balance in his life and things like that. So that's sort of like meant to serve as a bit of a resolution in the visions chapter of the album. But yeah, so that's pretty much what the visions are about.
Okay. It's funny you say that because I sort of picked up on that. I'm a real fan of big choruses, so Digital Dream was easily a favorite for me. Guessing this track has something to do with how the real world and humanity's obsession with the cyber world is sort of becoming assimilated?
Yes, yes, and it's very much a almost a singularity theory kind of approach to the lyrics here. It's almost like I hate to say science fiction because I believe it's totally within the realm of possibility that we head in that direction. Because I think we are heading in that direction, where we are just becoming a bunch of hard drives with no identities, and we're just consuming information, and it's just expected of us to consume this information on a daily basis. We're being fed this. It's not like necessarily a conscious thing that we're doing. To some level, it is, but I feel like it's going to get to the point. Like I subscribe to this theory that it's going to get to the point where technology meets up with biology at some point in time. So, and what the result of that is going to be, I don't really know. But that's kind of what Digital Dreamer is about. That's kind of the first chapter of the Visions section of the album.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to Luxuria. I mean, it's got that
Mm-hmm.
infectious swing vibe to it. It honestly, to me, it doesn't sound like any of the other tracks on the album. I'm guessing that's associated with Vices. I mean, do you feel like it's some kind of I don't know turning point in the album because it just sounds so different?
It is. It's kind of a refresher. And it's right after Anesthesia,
Hmm.
Anesthesia Throne, which is probably one of the more thrashy songs that Raunchy's ever done. I honestly can't think of any other Raunchy songs that have a similar vibe to Anesthesia Throne. And same with Luxuria. But I think Luxuria sort of provides like a nice refresher in terms of just the general vibe of the song.
Hmm.
But yeah, lyrically, yes, it is very much just geared toward lust, and that was the first song that I wrote for Raunchy, was Luxuria. And if you read the lyrics of previous Raunchy albums, there's a lot of um, uh, lustful sort of topics.
Yeah,
It's
I know. Yeah.
you know, so it felt kind of natural to start with that, and it felt fairly in line with previous efforts.
Okay. Well, you've been talking a lot about writing some of these songs. A lot of vocalists they join just in time to say put vocal melodies to lyrics that the band's already written, but it sounded like you were actually brought on board to write the lyrics.
I was,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't say, "Hey, come on board so you can just write these lyrics."
Yeah.
Obviously, it's we want you to be the front man,
Mm.
but there are two vocalists.
Yes.
It's myself and Jeppe Christensen, and he is incredible. Um, I mean, I've been influenced by him as a vocalist for a long time, so it's very much a dream come true to not only sing with him in a band, but to be friends with Jeppe now is amazing. All of the guys are just really, really genuine people, and just so accommodating and friendly and funny, and so much personality in that band. But anyway, sorry, your your question again was about. Remind me, sorry.
um, when you joined the band, you not only wrote the vocal melodies, but you also did all the lyrics.
Right. So I did write all the lyrics. And it's there's a lot of freedom in that band. I mean, obviously, if everyone's feeling like, oh, this part needs to change, or we're not too crazy about this note in X or Y melody, or X or Y guitar part or whatever, but that rarely happened. There's a lot of creative freedom, and coming into that was like, wow, awesome. Like I felt like I came in and they gave me, a lot of responsibility, and I did my very best and had a blast writing this album. Not only the lyrics, but these melodies and screaming rhythms and getting creative with it. And then just singing with Jeppe. He like the lyrics that I wrote and everything. Like he on occasion would have to, if he came up with like a melody line, like for Digital Dreamer, like he wrote that chorus, and I wrote the melody line for that chorus and kind of like changed a few words here and there to fit his rhythm, I suppose. and but he's just like he's got such an incredible knack for writing good hooks, and like with our mind with our ideas combined, it just like it was we just had really good chemistry with just writing hooks and harmonies to those, and just kind of like this duet feel that really shined on this album that hasn't really been present in previous albums, because Casper, the old vocalist, was just he was, I shouldn't say just a screamer, he was an amazing frontman, but he didn't sing. His role was the aggressive vocals. So
Okay. So for people who are, say, completely unfamiliar with your voice, and actually, I've noticed this album has actually gotten a lot of new fans. For people who are unfamiliar with both you and previous Raunchy albums, how would they differentiate between the two clean vocalists? Who's who? Could you give an example of a song?
who's who on the album? Yeah,
Yeah.
well, all the screams are me. But yeah, to be able to differentiate between the voices, Jeppe is the very higher ranged, polished and smooth, like clean pop sort of sounding vocalist, and then I've got the more gritty, lower register, hairy chest kind of sounding guy vocals.
That's funny because when I first heard the first track,
Yeah.
I actually thought it was the other way around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Now, joining this band obviously means recording an album with Jacob Hansen. How did you find recording with him? I mean, I've heard nothing but great things about the guy.
Right, right. Well, we actually, I didn't record vocals with him.
Okay.
We recorded vocals with Jeppe Anderson, who works with Jacob very closely, and for his studio. But drums and guitars and all that stuff was recorded with Jacob. But he obviously mixed the vocals and
Right.
produced the vocals and things like that. And I mean, considering he did the past three Raunchy albums, he's very much just become another member almost, and sort of he's helped really define Raunchy's sound and highlight Raunchy's strengths. It's a mix of a few different genres, and I feel like Jacob does a really good job of highlighting this little hybrid nature of the sound.
All right. Well, yourself being based in the United States while everyone else is in Denmark, does this make being part of the same band kind of difficult, especially when it comes to touring?
In some senses, yeah. I mean, okay, so when it comes to touring, yeah. I mean, when it comes to writing, not so much, because I would imagine we'd be writing the exact same way if I lived in Denmark or if they lived here. We write and exchange files over the internet, which is just kind of the new age way of doing things. But in terms of tours, like, it hasn't been an issue. Like, it's just a matter of getting my plane ticket to go over there. They book my flight for, I don't know, like a week beforehand or so, and we do a few rehearsals, and everyone just is expected to rehearse individually and make sure that they're on top of their game, before they come to a full band rehearsal, because those are so limited. So it's really important that I'm keeping up with my chops on my own. Yeah, it's other than just flying over there, it hasn't really posed many difficulties.
All right. Well, as you said earlier, you perform both harsh and clean vocals. Is it difficult to gravitate between the two in one song? Because it sounds like you're performing with, I don't know, like two different kinds of energy. I wouldn't know how to explain it. I'm not a vocalist.
Yeah, that's okay. Not so much. Not anymore, at least. I have classical vocal training as well as rock vocal training, and that gave me a really, really nice foundation for singing and being able to transition between different approaches to vocals. So it's not really something that I think about anymore. I would say that transition between vocal styles is it's it's automated now. You know, it's not really it's muscle memory at this point. I don't really have to think about it so much. And I teach voice lessons over Skype. I do online voice lessons with fans, and so that's a big part of my lessons, especially the kids who are trying to really hone in on their metal technique. So that's something that I like to focus on, transitioning between the two.
Okay. No, like, did you develop it yourself, or, well, you just said you did, but who would be some influential vocalists that inspired you?
Mm.
Apart from Yeppe, like you talked about earlier.
Yeah, right. Inspired me. Who are some of my favorite vocalists? Oh man. Mm. I mean, 13-year-old Mike would say Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam.
Okay.
But current day Mike, God, some of my favorite vocalists. God, I listen to so many female vocalists these days, but I can't say that I'm necessarily influenced because I mean, just naturally their register is a bit different than my own. Well, I really like Johnny Craig's voice.
Okay.
I really like Johnny Craig's voice. I really like there's a singer from Canada called The Weeknd, who I love. Not rock or metal or anything like that. He's like an R&B kind of guy.
All right.
He's unbelievable. Love my friend Rhodey from Protest the Hero has always been
Oh yeah, of course.
a big influence.
That's
Love that guy. Yeah, those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
All right. Cool. In terms of touring, where's the band looking to play this year?
So we've got a European tour coming up next month, end of next month. I'm not exactly sure of all the dates right now.
Okay.
That's not really my department. But I know, so Europe next month. And I'm really excited for Copenhagen Festival in Copenhagen in June. Oh my God. Rise Against and Gojira and so many bands. I know Asking Alexandria is playing as well. There's a bunch of really, really good bands playing. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Little bit different. A friend of mine is soldiering through some tough times right now. He's actually over the moon when I showed him the new album. I think it actually helped him keep on track. Is that something you saw the album doing for people?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear. There's nothing like feeling like the feeling of knowing that your music or lyrics or what have you has in some way had a positive impact on someone. So that's really great to hear. And honestly, like, you go into art, any form of art, visual, music, whatever, for yourself, because, it's a craft that you pick up and you enjoy doing it. And, you kind of like, at least with writing lyrics, like, there's a part of me that like kind of just feels like a sense of responsibility when I'm writing lyrics. It's like, how is this going to be perceived? And, it's music is a universal language, and it's going to be heard by people from around the world, ideally.
Yeah.
And so it's important that my message is something that's very true and coming from a genuine place. So when that resonates with someone, it's very, very rewarding.
Okay, very good. Well, this essentially brings us to the end. Thank you very much for sparing your time. It was an absolute
Absolutely.
pleasure. Do you have any last words for the fans?
No, to anyone who's listening, if you've heard the record, thank you so much for checking it out. If you haven't, it's available on iTunes and in stores and all of that. And we're streaming it on YouTube as well. So thank you for tuning in and for listening to Raunchy.